Greetings everyone, this is Lodrik and this is a Game War in the Pacific Advanced Edition, and this is the match against Dojo. Today we will check turn number 54, means the activity for 23rd and 24th of March 1942. Last turn I regroup my Indian Ocean battle forces. I created battle fleet, cruiser fleet and two smaller carrier fleet task forces and sent them direction Rangoon. So maybe they have some activity there. At the same time here on the map we can see that here's just a base switching back to Dojo's control without a fight, simply only because there are enemy forces nearby and no Japanese base force to make sure that the base is under control. This can always happen, anytime, anywhere, in a certain distance, of course, to a unit. Here is now the skillful Japanese sub-chaser find American Mark 14 Shitty torpedo submarine. We are here in deep waters, but this is a real sub-chaser, so equipment with deep water, and we can have here the modification 2. For a short moment you can see in this text here, this is a type 95, so this is normally the same equipment the Japanese used at the beginning of the war, only for shallow water, capable to hunt submarines, but this have now a modification. So it means that we can also attack now submarines in deep water, but the damage we create, or let's say the Japanese, if they create a hit on a submarine, the damage potential is still small. At least we can, or at least the Japanese sub-chasers and destroyers can attack a submarine and hit and hurt it, but it will still need many hits to create enough damage on the submarine to force us to surface or make an instant kill. So this is only the first upgrade for the Japanese. There's later a second upgrade, and this will make the damage potential much higher, similar to what the Allies have now already. Anyway, we create here at least 3 hits, but I would say with this kind of equipment you need 10 to 12 hits to kill a submarine. 3 hits will be not enough, even maybe not enough to force the submarine to return. Maybe Dojo still will try to return, because this Mark 14 submarines, they don't have really much efficiency anyway. So maybe he don't want to risk any half damage submarine to stay here in a potential dangerous area. But this is Dojo's decision. So maybe you can ask him about the submarine, how critical this 3 damage was really for him. Maybe I would say it's like maybe 10 system damage, maybe 5 or also 10 flotation damage, but not more. I think this is the maximum. Here's now the skillful Japanese submarine captain avoids a counter strike of the Allied destroyer. You can also turn the story around and say that the Allied destroyer was capable enough to intercept this submarine, and at the end nothing happened. But this is now at the, I would say March, and maybe in the end of the March, if the Japanese player is capable enough to focus on upgrading his sub chasers and destroyers early on, then there's now the time that the Japanese have a chance to hunt submarines in deep water. I would still say it is not really easy. Maybe end of April is a much better time. At that time, it is possible for the Japanese to upgrade even more destroyers, also convert some old ships to escort ships, and escort ships have often good anti-submarine equipment, not powerful but good, I would say. But Dojo was also not able so far to really use his submarines for a kill blow. He sunk some cargo ships, but I think I lost no navy unit for any of his submarines. I think his submarines was really only able to sunk some of my cargo ships, troop transport ships. But even that number was not really critical for me so far. Compared to the Japanese submarines, I would say they was successful at least. I'm not sure how easy it is to compare this to other games or matches. If you play the AI, then it is often very easy to use submarines to sink a lot of the enemy, because the AI is not really good in avoiding submarine attacks. So I would say this is not really realistic to compare. At the beginning, maybe Dojo plays this game a little easygoing and suffer more losses, but I think roughly end of December or mid of January he already had a new order, bigger convoys with escort, and at that time it was already turning for my submarines. And after that I still sunk some cargo ships, but numbers are small, I would say. This is now the typical Chinese bombardment. I mean, this is really nothing new for me. It is always bring disorder and destruction, and you try to disable or even destroy some of Dojo's Chinese units, slow them down, keep the fatigue up, lower their morale, everything what supports the Japanese army later. And of course at the same time train some pilots. Why not? I mean, because Dojo have no fighters in China, so why not? My Dojo is always trying to lure up some fighters here in the source, and the same in Changsha. I have some Oscars, only to make sure that Dojo not try to make a trap. At least at these two positions I have my fighters. This is related to where Dojo can have fighters, because the Allies fighters, they don't have much range. I would say maximum 4. So if I let my bombers here run west and east of Yan'an, it's normally impossible for Dojo to have any interceptor or fighter he cover here. Then he must make something like long range cap, and if you do this, then he have very fast, very high fatigue, and then operational losses. And I think you cannot even make a long range cap. Can only be the maximum range of normal range, not extended range. So I would say 4 hexes from a base is the maximum. kill the Chinese. This is, I think I only forgot to switch this attack. Or maybe I did it because this Sonya they have also camera equipment. So if you order them to attack something, they will make a bombing strike. But at the same time they also make a high quality recon pictures. And this will allow you to, at the end of the turn, or the beginning of the next turn, you have your very high detection level, and then you will, more or less very accurate information about what is the situation in this hex. So they are primarily recon planes with some additional bombs. And we can also see, because I'm running these missions on 7,000 feet, means only long-range flak can attack these airplanes. This Chinese units don't really have long-range flak. They have only short-range flak. So all this damage is related to operational damage, weather damage, like this. Okay, this is now the second turn. Dojo tried to attack Bangkok. And of course, last turn I was surprised. But this turn I am not more surprised. So of course I changed my setup for these are normally only training aircrafts. I mean, the Nate is for sure no frontline fighter. And the Oscar 1A is also the same. They have the same firepower. They both have 2 light machine guns. So this is nothing to ever use this in a real dogfight. So they are on training. But I changed them now to, I think, half training and escort mission or cap fighter. And this Blenheim force, this is not a B-17. With this kind of airplanes you can never kill a B-17, or nearly never ever. But the Blenheim is at the end only a light bomber, even if it's, I think they have armor, so it is very hard to really kill the Blenheims here. But we have the numbers. And I'm not sure if Dojo use them now in normal strike range or in extended range, so let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hexes. Maybe this is still normal range. But maybe we kill not too many of Dojos, but if we can damage them, then maybe on the way back we can create some operational losses for Dojo. I'm not sure if this is now too interesting, because this is now purely intercepting against Blenheims. The information you can see from this map, I think I explained this before, is at this date I think I still have no radar in Bangkok. It's maybe on the way, but it's not arrived so far. And the red line is more or less the intercepting time. So the Japanese Air Force Command first realized that there's a bombing strike is incoming shortly before Dojo's bomber force arrive already in Bangkok. So the fighters, they have less time to really attack these bombers, and they may be also not in the best altitude position now. If you have still more reaction time, you can bring more fighters in a better intercepting position. So this is why it is very critical for the Japanese to try to bring in the radar systems to a base where you have first interceptor fighters, because the radar station alone will only let you know there is some bomber formation or airstrike coming, but it will not help you much more. I think it's not very helpful for flak. It's really, I think, only helpful for if you have fighters in the air. So you need fighters, you need interceptors, and the interceptors must have the order to have a cap fighter, so they must have the order to make intercepting. And the third is, of course, normally you not only, even if you have now your radar, and I mean I have this nade fighters, will also not help me much. Even if I will maybe know, okay, if I have 20 minutes more reaction time, a nade fighter will still not really make too much damage here. So radar station, need fighters with a correct setup, order of setup, and then it must be also some airplane can do some damage, and maybe also pilots know what they are doing. So these are only training pilots, so they are really not with the best skill levels. These airframes are outdated already, so, and we have no radar. So there are many handicaps now on my side. But at the end, these are unescorted Blenheim bombers. So we can still bring them down. But I speed this now up because I think there's not more. I mean, there is something coming, so half of the Blenheims gets defeated. Okay, so combat summary say we kill 3 and we damage 4. Let's see, at the end of the turn we can see what happened. And because we have 4 250-pound bombs, so these are 1000 pounds, it's 500 kilo. 500 kilo sounds a little light for me. Maybe this is a long range attack. We can maybe check this later at the end of the turn. Long range attack is simply only make it even more critical. If an airplane is damaged and make a long range attack, the possibility that it will have an accident on the return flight is simply higher, or that the pilot will make a crash landing. This is now one of my carrier groups. I have now 2 carrier groups in Indian Ocean, so I'm not sure if it is now carrier group 2 or carrier group 3. But our scout planes detect some of Dojo's task forces here, so a Navy task force. And this is again this a little more tough fight for my Zero fighters against Dojo's Hurricanes 2Bs. And we just saw that Dojo was able to kill one of my Zero fighters here early on. My Zero fighter was able to damage the Hurricane, but not to destroy it. And I think there's now some level adjustment not so good, because my Zeros was only able to, I think, to force 2 Hurricanes back to base, but 3 Hurricanes avoid the interceptor fighters, the Zeros, completely, and attacking immediately the bombers. And of course, this Japanese Navy bombers, they have no armor, very low hit points, and they are very easily to get killed. So any dive bombers, torpedo bombers, if there's a fighter, it doesn't matter nearly what kind of fighter, they die so fast. So this is now a very successful intercepting mission for Dojo. But it's maybe mainly related to the ineffective escort of the Zeros, because normally with this high numbers I would normally suggest that it's impossible for the Hurricanes to really catch the bombers. Normally they would fight each other, and because I have the higher numbers, at the end all the Hurricanes have to return or we gets defeated. Anyway, this was not a very successful attack. And because these bombers was all attacked, they coming now in the wrong attack formation, and so at the end everything gets worse here. Not only I lost 1 Zero Fighter, I also lost 1 Torpedo Bomber and 3 Dive Bombers. But Dive Bomber pilots are the most easy one to train because they normally really only learn to make Navy attack. And if you're done with Navy attack, you can maybe say, okay, make a airfield attack, but this is secondary stuff. Torpedo bombers must normally learn make a torpedo attack and Navy attack, so they have normally double the training time. Fighter pilots are also important because you normally, I would say a torpedo bomber pilot can, with a skill level of 50, is already okay to use, but a fighter pilot, I would say, must have at least a skill level of 60 before I will use them. So, and it's hard to get a pilot's, or it's easy to bring a pilot up to 50, but it's much more time consuming to bring a pilot up to 60. So, yeah. Yeah, not so successful here. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but Dojo come here with 25,000 altitude, and there was all airborne, so there was no additional, he had no reinforcements. And my fighter pilots come in, I think the same level, maybe 10,000 feet. So we can check this maybe later. At the end, this was the win for Dojo. But these are small stuff at the end. Or what I would change for this. I think in this case, I must check it, but I think the root cause is that my interceptors are all coming at the same level like the bombers, but they don't have different altitude levels. Normally you must have interceptors or escort fighters at the same level of the bombers, 5,000 higher, and then again 5,000 higher. So maybe like 10,000, 15,000 and 21,000. Okay. Only to learn something and try to make it better. Okay, so our scout planes, they hit the cargo ship. So far we had no hit on the cargo ship, so if we have a second airstrike and there's a cargo ship already burning, then our scout plane really score a hit. It's very unlikely that normally a scout plane will make a hit. And additional, not only, this scout planes only carry 60 kilogram bombs, so even if they hit, the damage is often only very small and not really something will change or have a big impact. Again, this is my long range, the Bettys and the Nels, they are always this long range Navy bombers with the torpedo capacity. So they're really, the best benefit is long range and torpedo attack. But if you train up the pilots enough, they are also not so bad for land attack. You can see that, of course you need the numbers, so I have here enough bombers, then I can create also enough damage. Because they can normally only carry these 250 kilogram bombs, and these are only the support bombs are, I think, not so really important. Always making a lot of pictures. Okay, this is now, I think, the second strike. And Dojo's original 6 Hurricanes are now down already to 2. Yeah, but Dojo's diving on my zeros. So we force one Hurricane to return. Again damage and return. Okay, this time the escort fighters was more skillful. They avoiding the dive attack from Dojo's Hurricane. Then they making more or less a loop or some dogfight, and then they come behind the Hurricane because Zeros are much more agile. And then they cannot kill the Hurricane, but they always damage. And now the dive bombers can come in the bomb formation, so they have the best possible chance to score a hit. And this is this corvette, this submarine killer, and we score some hits at least. If it's enough to sink this, hard to say. And again, the third Hurricane. So 3 Hurricanes attack. All 3 Hurricanes gets damage, but I lost 1 Zero fighter, and I think for sure that my pilot is also dead because this is now open sea. No one controls this. 2 bomb hits on the corvette is normally enough. Here heavy damage and on fire. Maybe not heavy damage. Like here is heavy fire, heavy damage. So. And again you can see that the dive bombers are coming down to 2,000, some go to 3,000, and some even go down to 1,000 feet. So these pilots are maybe the most skillful one because I don't know if it's more skillful. I would say it is more skillful if you can dive deeper and not crash your airplane in this dive. And if you don't have so much experience, you get nervous and you will release your bomb early on, because you are worried that you will not control the airplane in the last moment. I mean, if you want to go 1,000 feet down to the dive, you really must know what you are doing, because there's not much time left after you release your bomb. So this turn we had no navy engagement and some submarine stuff, but at least we had some, not standard air battle. It was maybe not the air battle I hoped for, but here I bring now my Navy Guard units around Sumatra, because it's normally mountain terrain. You can see the mountains in the center, so it's much faster if you simply ship your units around and then you land from the west side. So I try to make my amphibious assault attack faster than Dojo try to cross the mountains, so that I can take the base and cut Dojo's Dutch forces completely off supplies. This is now, I don't know more, I think the third battle of Linzhou, and you can see that the Mongolian garrison army also arrived here. We had already 2 battles with the original setup. Now I bring in my Mongolian army, and the original army had 2 days, 1 turn rest to bring up fatigue, or reduce the fatigue and increase the morale. And there's not more much left. Last time already there was not more much left from this Chinese units. I think it's the main unit holding the line is now here, the 82nd Chinese Corps. Yeah, and the rest is already low on power. And Dojo have here only 2 corps, and I have here 6 army groups. So Dojo was not able to bring enough reinforcements here. This is mainly related because a lot of Dojo's forces are here in this source, trying to cross the mountains. If Dojo maybe retreat faster to Xi'an, and then maybe from Xi'an here to the higher mountains, then he had maybe enough defense fire or power. But Dojo was too slow simply, and he gets cut. And now, I mean, of course, this is always this. I cut his unit, so he is now slowly retreating. But now Dojo also blocked my. This road is blocked. This road is blocked. Only this road is open. So I must send here some supplies over this long run, and this is not very efficient. So my units are also low on supplies now soon. So who's starving? Who starve out which one? So I think we starve each other now. At the end, this was now the third battle, and this was a successful battle. Nearly nothing gets destroyed, mostly gets only disabled. So if I can bring in supplies, this is hard. I can get these units back in the ready mode, but not sure if I can really do this so easy. For me, it's important that the Dojo, suffer higher numbers, and most of the stuff gets destroyed. One unit completely and the rest is running. Yeah, but he's also crossing now the river. He's now in heavy mountain, so he gets here triple defense, and this is the last base. And I have now the not so easy situation that I normally must try to catch him. If I let him rest here in this mountain hex, then he maybe can rebuild his army, and then I don't know, I cannot return my army back to Xi'an before I not get rid of this threat. Well, here's only some bombardment. This time I lost a little stuff. Next time maybe Dojo. It's not really important. My Navy Guard unit's taking the next base, but he has no units, so only picking the base. He has also nothing. He has really nothing. This is also now the third battle of this mountain hex. And this is my broken division. I cannot reform them because I think the C company have still old equipment. A and B have already new updated equipment. But the Dutch forces are also very low on morale, and now they breaking, running. So because Dojo have the mountain hex, he can increase his attack value, and I can only bring roughly 50% of my attack on the field, but it's enough to score a 4-1 assault victory, and this is at the end create a victory for me. Nothing gets destroyed on the Japanese side, only some disabled, and for Dojo it's his units are breaking. So these are, I think, not more much left to really fight. So 2 successful land battles for the Japanese army. 1 successful intercepting mission for British Air Force, and 1 maybe successful Navy strike for the Japanese army. Corvettes, I would simply say that I like to kill corvettes early on because they are really dangerous for Japanese submarines, and they have normally the better anti-submarine equipment compared to American destroyers. So I would I like more to kill British corvettes than American destroyers. Maybe in the long run, American destroyer is more powerful. But in the first year, I think up to end of 42, beginning of 43, the corvettes are the threat I have to fear a little more. This is now a rescue operation. Normally Rangoon is a main port, and often, or I would say most of the players will always try to keep and maintain an active minefield in a main port. But this normally needs also mine tenders and all this other equipment. And I don't saw here much stuff like this, so I was thinking that maybe Dojo not really have here much to create and maintain a big minefield. So I choose my cruisers and destroyers to go in and attack here. But I'm not more sure. Yeah, I think I simply go in. And I more or less I risk now that my ships are running on a mine. For a cruiser, maybe it would not be too critical. I mean, a cruiser can maybe... Let me move here a little if I can move. Move one more. I mean, if you now get something damaged, then I can go to port of Pegu or Mulheim. Still, of course, in range of Dojo's air force, and it will be, I mean, a little risky, but possible. If a ship is in port, it will normally not more sink if you, yeah, you can do this, but this is risky. You must have in your calculations that if you do this kind of stuff, that one or two of your ships hit a mine, and if a destroyer hit a mine, this is already often a kill blow. Yeah, it can be risky. The main purpose was normally to strike on Dojo's air force. I had hoped that I can kill or at least damage many of Dojo's air force here. Unluckily, this attack comes too late. If this attack happened last night, then I think Dojo was not more able to bring so many interceptors now, like he did in the last day in the air. So maybe then I would not have suffered so many of my navy bombers. But at least the second day I killed 2 and I damaged many. But again, so far I think these are damage on airframe. This means not that 15 airframes gets damaged, but it means 15 times a shell hit the airframe. And the airframe can handle more than only 1 damage. So depending on the airframe, it can handle more damage. So maybe 1 airframe can handle 2-3 damage, depending on, I think, on the shell and so on. So it's so far I know this damaged airplanes can mislead often. But I mean, damaged or destroyed units normally are destroyed units. And we also score some additional support damage to the units, but this is not really the important stuff here. Also runway hits a little, so, and supply hits, well, maybe it will lower supplies, so for Dojo, so if he is low on supplies, then he's now even have less to use. Yeah, and Rangoon is shallow water port, same like Saigon, so you cannot use your battleships, only heavy cruisers, light cruisers, destroyers, something like this. If I could bring here my battleships, then I think I can wipe out all of the airbase. But luckily for Dojo this is not possible. So the second bombardment, this is now only 2 heavy cruisers, but more light cruisers and destroyers. The damage is similar to the first strike. Most of the air force only gets damaged but not destroyed. But this is normally enough to at least ground the air force for 1 or 2 days. Some additional damage here. And no mine hit. So I was a little surprised. I thought at least I would have one mine hit or even more. Last time I did something like this in, I think, Bali Papan or Tarakan. One of my battleships hit a mine and then had to stay in the shipyard for nearly 1 month. Yeah, some landing. Pick up the last Philippines bases from the Americans. I hope first they will switch all automatically, but some bases are maybe too far for my unit, so they don't want switch, so I have to pick them up. No navy engagement and no submarine activity. Yeah. But there is a task force southwest of Rangoon, so maybe my carriers can hit them. Bad weather. Yeah. Shangsha and Wushu, I always sweep with my fighters only to make sure that Dojo don't have here some trap for my bombers running nearby. Oh ja. Ja, no hit. Heavy rain and if there's also less units, I think it's more hard to hit. I mean, if there are 100,000 guys and you throw some bombs on the ground, then for sure you will hit something. But if there are only 100 guys, there's, I think, less likely to make us create a hit. Yeah, this time there was really the flak damage. So there is some flak. I mean, we saw that the flak is coming up. So these are the heavy guns. It's maybe time for me to change this. Okay. So we detect. This is normally the task force. I thought my carrier will attack, but it looks like we found something else. more nearby. It's only a light cargo ship, so nothing really important. Yeah, it's only one light cargo ship. But 2 bomb hits and 2 torpedo hits is really enough. No more airstrike. Afternoon. Yeah, this was not so successful. I focus more or less most of my Chinese Northern Air Force on this deck on west of Yan'an to make make sure that these forces must walk on combat mode and have the lowest possible speed to move, because I must normally catch up with my Japanese army, but I have no road, so Dojo will for sure walk much faster. I need this. I need to catch up, or Dojo can maybe walk here down and he blocks the road all the time, and then he maybe can attack Xi'an, because I have in Xi'an nearly nothing left. So it's a little critical. But I still hope that the Air Force will support the army and save the day. Yeah. Every stack, every army must have some recon pictures to always get the updated information. How strong is Dojo's units? Which direction he's moving, like this. Yeah, this is now one of Dojo's support sub hunters. So he used now a minesweeper, ocean going minesweeper. If there's a C behind it, it's AMC, then it's like a minesweeper coastal. So then I say this is an ocean going minesweeper. They have the ability to also attack submarines. But this is really only a secondary skill, and so they often fail to find submarines or create really meaningful damage. But at least this kind of ships can always force the submarine to dive, break the attack. Okay. Like last time, but this time I think Dojo lost, or had one disabled unit, so at the end, irrelevant. So this is normally the end of the turn. Yep. So we arrived at the 25th of 25th March 1942. So the first thing I always check is the intelligence report, and then we can see that we make air-to-air losses 5 to 7. Okay. We killed 4 airplanes on the ground. I had 1 killed by flak and 8 the operational losses, and Dojo have 3 operational losses. So maybe the better day for Dojo this day in the air battle. Check. So this mainly Dojo lost. He lost more or less. I think he come with 8 and he lost all his Blenheims. So 6 never returned to base, and 2 arrived at the base but then written off. So the whole strike force is destroyed. I don't know why I have now 5 Oscar, 1 C ops losses. I really don't know why. I thought there were 1 ace. I don't know. This looks a little high ops losses for me. But this the Hurricanes, they attack the Navy strike. So we had we only create 1 ops losses maybe with the damage. So 4 gets destroyed on the ground directly, or maybe after too much damage, and then 1 additional maybe on the ground or in the air. Battlehead cannot return to base. So at least Dojo lost 5 Hurricanes. And these are first class fighters, I would simply say. I lost 4 first class fighters, 2 air-to-air and 2 ops losses. So the real loss of air. I mean, of course, I also lost now 5 ops, 1 C Oscars. Then I have now here normally 9 first class fighters against 5 Dojo air first class fighters. This is of course not the best day. Additionally, I lost 4 dive bombers. Yeah, but dive bombers are more easily to replace. The rest is only just so. And 1 flak damage. This is a army scout plane. I can always lose 1. And 1 torpedo bomber. 12 to 16. A better day for Dojo, yeah. But nothing really critical. Sunk last turn was official only 1 light cargo ship. But I think we damaged at least 1 or 2 more, and the 1 corvette was also heavy burning. In best case, I killed more or less like 10 points value from Dojo's navy. Best case, maybe. Worst case, a little less. But 1 ship, I think, is a little. This is too less to be true. Yeah, but so some activity, but it was not a super active turn. So what else? Yeah, okay. So the Yan'an army, I still try to catch up, but I'm only at 26. So I try to catch up, but Dojo's running, and I try to slow him down. So it's hard to say who can catch up first. He has still 2 units with 14,000 guys, but I let him come out. I don't care this so much now. More critical is that Dojo have here this 180,000 or whatever guys, and I have only my. I have attack value, but I have only half the numbers in Dojo. Luckily, we are here in heavy or mountain rough terrain, so defender gets triple. So if he attack me, he still have double the attack value, or at least double the numbers of people or soldiers. But I don't know if this also will compare to double the attack value. We will see. I will not attack this, because for me I'm far too weak. So maybe Dojo will attack me, but maybe not. Maybe. But I can see that he's running here source. He's also trying to cut here the hex. Here is coming, here's a hex, so he tried to cut everything around Xi'an to make sure that no supplies coming more here. Then I have only this support road with not much meaning maybe. Lensho is now Japanese control, so means 300 points for Japan, and I mean for the allies it's not really important, it's only important for the Japanese, so I get points, but Dojo nearly lost nearly nothing. The handicap is now, or the bad outcome is, like in Singapore, all industry is lost. Completely destroyed. Everything was meaningful. Resources I don't care so much. The oil I would care. The refinery I would care. The light industry I also would not care so much. But I would hope, or I hope that at least I have 50% intact. So now this is all damaged, and I can normally not repair this. Because all supplies I have in this hex or in this area I need for my army. So I can take the Lenshow base, I can take this 300 victory points, but the industry is lost for me. But at least I can also say this industry is not lost for Dojo, because even if Dojo takes this base back, it is also for the Chinese nearly impossible to rebuild here anything. So the base is out of the game, you can say, from industry point of view. Points, victory points are now for the Japanese. So we have to go for Xening to, and hope that we can take here something more, but here is normally only resources. There's no oil, no refineries. This base is normally not so important, and it's also not on the main street, so but I must take it, and I must also crash this army of Dojo. It's still too powerful to ignore it, because he can always come back. I must beat it at least once more, maybe twice more, and then it's maybe will disappear. I'm on the way to Harmy, but I'm not sure what is there waiting for me, but I think only something like a base force. So maybe easy picking. And how Dojo will reorganize his army here is hard to say. I can keep here now some block forces. This is only some light scout tank. So they're only Tank-Lekten, like Panzer 1A, only machine gun tank. Not much firepower. I think here in the source nothing changed. I arrive here with my 13th army in Wushu, so maybe I can take the base. And my 23rd army is on the way to link up. Then I can bring 23rd and 13th army together, and then I think I can create here something more powerful than Dojo can stop. At least now. So far I have no upgrade information what is here, but I don't care so much. I know only here is one unit, and here's a little more, so maybe this is not enough to stop me. And I know that Dojo have a lot of firepower in Aishang. He has not much, but something. And he has also a lot of firepower. So Dojo have a very strong center position, and I think similar power is here. So Dojo try to hold the center. And I try to ignore the center and only keep my minimum defense forces in the center. And I try more to score the victory in the north and the south. Yeah, the situation here around Rangoon is now... my cruiser formation are already on the way back. They're making the shell bombardment, and they're running out of shells. So these units are really not more able to fight, so I let them return to Singapore. They consume all shells. They also have some system damage and some engine damage, so they are out of action now. Even if they engage some task forces, they normally try to avoid the attack. Because the commander will know, okay, I don't have really shells for my main guns. And the secondary guns are normally only anti-aircraft equipment. You can use this to attack something, but it's normally only an emergency situation. The captain will always try to disengage a battle. So even if you try to push them here to stay on the field or on sea, will not work. So I let them escape. I also use here some, I don't know if it's a risky tactic, but I create some armor division army here. It's a little, yeah, it's not the most efficiency level because they don't have the supplies. They're lacking. They will have or keep high fatigue. But if I can create here some tank units, they are very fast, so they can go every turn 1 hex. So I try to surprise Dojo that I used my fast units to try to catch up all of the center and north of Rangoon before Dojo can reorganize the enemy defense. And I use my slow units to take Rangoon. At least this is my tactic. I let my units rest last turn, so they have a lower fatigue and disruption. The big issue is still that I have here nearly no supplies. So these units more or less they only have supplies what they carry directly with them. Like I said, there is nearly no supplies coming over this road, and I don't want to bring here cargo ships. I want first take Rangoon and then I bring cargo ships. I simply have trust in my army commanders. This is the 25th army, that he is able to break this British resistance before my units completely will starve. So I have to act quickly. And yeah, we will see. If Dojo have here additional units, if Dojo have here a lot of supplies, and if he maybe create a very strong level 4 or 5, something like this, then maybe I will suffer here something, but then I must use brutal force maybe. Yeah, we will see how is the attack on Rangoon next I think next turn I can arrive there. Anything else? So we have here some task force. Somehow they slip through. Submarines here, submarines everywhere, but somehow they through. This is more or less a third carrier fleet. I think I will move them now west to Ceylon. Here's I don't know, the second carrier fleet. And then I will maybe use this 2 independent but nearby operational carrier fleets to make the next air bombardment on Colombo. Try to surprise Dojo, maybe. This task force have no detection level, so normally Dojo don't know that he is a carrier fleet. This carrier fleet have a high detection level, so Dojo know that he has 1 carrier fleet, and maybe he still only knows that there's 1 carrier fleet in this area. So, and if it's in this position, then it's maybe too far for him to attack Colombo, but so I'm not sure how I will navigate my carriers. Maybe I will try to come source and then make a like a surprise strike on Colombo. But if Dojo knows that there's 1 carrier fleet, and if it doesn't matter if I have 1 or 2 now, then Dojo is in alert modus, something like this. He will know that I am coming, and he will maybe keep his fighters more active. But it's also hard to avoid detection. Yeah. Here's a battleship fleet. Here's a second battleship fleet. They only want 1 back. I'm not sure why. I will change this order, of course. And here's also 1 battleship fleet. So normally there's always a carrier and a nearby battleship fleet to always make sure that if there's enemy task forces nearby, then the battleships try to engage this. And my carrier fleet itself have also some destroyer and light cruiser protection. And I also use this scout cruisers to let my Jack, they're making the search, and my carriers, they're going for full navy attack. They don't make search. So, and this is now, I don't know which unit was the unit lost the bombers. No. This is only 1 damage, but nothing lost. No, this carrier group looks good. So must be this carrier group. Yeah. Here are 4 dive bombers missing. And 1 torpedo bomber. And 2 zeros. So this fighter's coming in 10,000 feet. More or less the same level like the bombers. And I don't know if I maybe had Kate. Zeros. Normally this guy's coming 15,000. But maybe it was it. So normally they're on escort. So I had maybe escort on 10,000 and 15,000, but Dojo was on 21,000. So maybe I must level one more escort, like 10,000, 15,000, 21,000, to make sure that I have some escort fighters on the same altitude level, so that they are not diving and getting speed bonus. Because escort or interceptor fighters, of course, they always try to avoid escort fighters and always try to attack bombers, because this is their main purpose. Attack the enemy bomber incoming units. So yeah, makes sense. Good. So not much more here to say. Nothing here, nothing here, nothing here. Yeah, only here is a Navy Guard units landing, taking the base. Okay. And we was on resting, I think. Yeah, this unit had, I think, high fatigue and this, I think I keep it resting because of this one. My unit is already 400% prepared for palmbang. So if you try something like river crossing or amphibious assault when there's an enemy strong on the field, or at least you fear there's a lot of stuff, you better have this preparation on 100%. As this gives additional bonus for all kind of fighting. So better use this. Here in east of Java, I think I already catch up with Dojo. So this, I think I had already 2 battles with this Dutch army from Surabaya. So we defeated the Dutch and Surabaya, then on this mountain hex. And now this is the 3rd time we kick their asses, and I can take also this bases. So these 2 bases will fall this turn. And yeah, maybe I will also bring some additional amphibious assault, so also take this base. Then I can take this 2 bases or even all 3 bases in one turn, and then Dojo will be here, yeah, trapped, and then the forces cannot retreat more and will be destroyed completely. Yeah, I also take this mountain hex, so this means west of Java everything is under Japanese control, only Batavia is missing. And I must first destroy this East Dutch Java army before after I'm done with this, I will bring my whole army to Batavia and then have the full mighty forces of 2 Japanese armies going for Batavia. Good. Nothing more here. Nothing here. Ah yeah. I have here a heavy cruiser formation and a light cruiser formation, because I realized that my submarines alone have now trouble. Similar to the battle in the Atlantic with the German submarines and the British. Submarines alone, submarines are good to sink cargo ships and maybe battleships, something like this, but they simply have no real good chance against destroyers or corvettes. So, and to bring and I see here not much possible hunting ground for me with only submarines. And because I took Soabaya. I can now operate all my cruisers and destroyers from Soabaya, and then the distance is not more so far for me. So I can bring them here to this locations and let them run for 10 turns maybe before they have to go back to refuel. And at the same time I can try to lure Dojo's destroyer hunter groups and fight with my heavy cruisers, and then of course, or even my light cruisers, and then I can maybe pick up some of Dojo's destroyers in the future and make it more easily for my submarines to hit the cargo ships. At the same time, if Dojo, I don't know, I don't expect this, if Dojo have here some heavy units, maybe I can also lure them out, and then my submarines can maybe create some successful hit on something like a, I don't know what Dojo have here. I think they have here some Australian light cruisers or heavy cruisers, but not normally much. And normally the British battleships, they're all already destroyed. I think we sunk 2 battleships already, and the 3rd battleship must be normally in Colombo in the shipyard dock. Looks like also that Dojo fixed the shipyard. The shipyard is nearly now back on full power. And this looks like, because so far normally if Dojo don't have a shipyard big enough to fix I think here's the Renown sunk, so this must be the Prince of Wales, and I'm not more sure how much tonnage this ship have, but it can be also around 40,000. So normally the shipyard must be big enough to handle the Prince of Wales. So maybe all the time the Prince of Wales was only in dock but without repair. But now nearly the dock is ready. But luckily I can bring my now 2 carrier groups in a position to attack Colombo again. And if I don't sink the Prince of Wales this time, but damage the shipyard again, then still the ship is dead here in the port. And maybe someday I will create a lucky hit. Good. Anything else? Anything else? Oh yeah. I mean, now it doesn't matter more because we know that Dojo lost 8 of his Blenheim bombers, but we can check this shortly. Allied Blenheim Beaufighter Blenheim 4. So they have a normal range of 9. And yeah, the normal load is 4 times 250 pound bombs. Okay. So they can only load maximum 1000 pound, and the reduced load is only then half. Okay, so they was still a normal attack, not an extension attack, but I get rid of them. Good. Anything else? I think my division is still on the way. Still moving. So next turn I think I will also arrive in my hex, and then maybe next turn where I can take this base. Okay, finally. Next turn I maybe also arrive in Palmbang, and at least next turn I will also know if I can destroy all of these Dutch forces in east of Java. And then I can go for West Java. What is the first carrier fleet? I think is still here in dock. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, this carrier is ready. And 3 other carriers are in repair. And they are already next turn already. So I let them rest here 1 more day so that they are fully ready again. And the Hero is still under there's something like emergency repair. So the float damage is already all fixed. The major damage I cannot fix more. Now I try to get rid of this engine damage because they are all soft damage or not major damage. So I can repair them normally here in port. And if this is done, I would say then I bring the carrier maybe back to Japan, because I won't get rid of this major damage. At the same time, I also can use this carrier, because this is a 71 carrier, to recreate and reform some of my training units back in Japan, because in Japan I have something like this. They are Navy cloud fighters, so they are Navy. They can operate from a carrier. So I can bring them to this carrier, then I can reform this and make out of this is not only a size of 30, I can go up to 71 if I want. Because the maximum carrier size is 71, so the maximum what the carrier can handle, I can create a group out of this. But of course I need the airplanes for this. I have only 68 in stock. So, and I don't know how many air wings I have here. I have 2 of these air wings, but this will remove soon. So I will lose this carrier. This fighter squadron. But you can also do this not normally with torpedo bombers. But these torpedo bombers, I have nearly no pool. And I would always keep a half dozen maybe in the pool, because sooner or later you will create some operational losses. And then to keep at least 2-3 in pool is, I think, clever. So anything else? I'm not more sure. I think this is first enough. Yeah. So this is my division. I think I talked about this last time. So the 53rd division is now coming and unloading here. And then I can move this up, and then I can hunt this last separate Chinese army behind the lines to get rid of this too. Don't must take care of this kind of stuff more. This only is annoying, nothing more. Philippines is soon all ours, so not much left. I take this base, then I take the next base, and then I can pick up this troop, and then it's really over. I don't know more. I think repair Tarakan is already completely repaired, and Balikpapan is also fully repaired. Everything is repaired. I think Miri, I only use the supplies I have left to repair stuff, and then I maybe keep it like this. Because I'm running out of supplies, it's now really a luxury for me to repair stuff. And I must really make a decision what I want to repair. I burned through all my big starter resources and supplies. So if you play the Japanese, it is really a kind of strategy how you want to use your supplies. You can say you more or less upgrade nothing or repair nothing and use all your supplies only for fighting. Then you can keep this pushing much longer. You can also reinforce your army faster. But this will only help you. This will help you in the short run. But if you want to play this game in the long run, you must keep a balance of what oil and refinery you want to repair, and how much you invest in heavy industry upgrade. Like I still have here Tokyo. I built up to 2,900, and Osaka go to 2,100. And I also have here a lot of in China. I have heavy industry upgrade. This will help me in the long run, but this will of course cost me in the first 6 months. It will reduce my fighting ability in China, I think, for sure. And this will also make it not so possible for me to repair all these facilities. But the question is if I really want to repair all of this oil, all of the refineries, or it's hard to say. It's a question of strategy. You can do it, but oil will not win the war, but it's let you keep the war running longer. But oil itself have normally, it's only let you move stuff. It will not repair stuff. supplies, I would say, is more important for me. So I invest more of my supplies and to create new heavy industry and not to repair too much oil in refineries. Okay, enough for today. See you all. Take care. Bye bye.